Okay. Definitely no questions from East side, is there? MashaAllah. Okay. Eid prayer. How many Eid prayers do we have here? Two. Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. The rule for Jummah is fard, obligatory. Yeah? The rule for Eid is wajib, necessary. So the strength of ruling for Jummah is higher than the of Eid. Basically means if somebody missed Jummah, it's a bigger deal than if somebody missed Eid. Because Eid namaz is not mentioned in the Quran. Eid namaz comes from hadith. But the Quran mentions Jummah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ati fas'au ila dhikrillahi wa zarul bay'. There's actually a surah called Surah Al-Jum'ah. In that surah, Allah Almighty mentioned that come to Friday prayer, which makes it fard. Why is Jummah fard? Mentioned in Quran. Why is Eid not fard? Because it's not mentioned in Quran. If Allah Almighty mentioned Eid in the Quran to say go and read Eid prayer, in that same way, it would be fard as well. But it's not. Whereas it's mentioned in Hadith, and the closest thing you'll find to Eid prayer mentioned in the Quran is Allah Almighty saying, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ in Surah Al-Kawthar. So then pray to your Lord and offer sacrifice, which would indicate more towards what? Eid al-Adha. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. Salah followed by Nahar, which is the sacrifice, the Qurbani that we do on the big Eid. What comes first? Salah first, then Qurbani. Right? فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. What takes a higher ruling, Fajr Salah or Eid Salah? Fajr. What takes a higher ruling, Zohar Salah or Eid Salah? Zohar. So people will miss Fajr, but leg it for Eid. They will read Eid, but miss Zohar. Fajr is more important, like than Eid. If you miss Fajr, that's a big deal. Less of a deal if you missed Eid. But सारे तमियां कमीजा चासन नसने पर Eid namaz पढ़नी है नारा बाव विच and get it all ready, go running to Eid namaz. Some of them still the labels hanging off the jeans from Jean Junction. So Fajr is important, more important than Eid. For Fajr time, the masjid will be literally 5, 6 worshippers, 7, 8 worshippers. Eid namaz, people out to the streets, packed to the rafters, as they say. So, two Eid prayers, they are wajib. Who they wajib on? The same person who Jummah is wajib on. So if someone's traveling example I gave you about London and the car, if that was on Eid the day, Eid namaz would not be wajib, because same rules apply. That's why we covered Jummah and then we'll do Eid as well. So Friday prayer, so same conditions, except for the sermon. So the only difference between the Jummah and the Eid in one sense is, we mentioned like the open access and all of that, right? That's all applies here. The khutbah for Jummah is wajib and the khutbah for Eid is sunnah. Okay. Then saying on the day of Fitr, which is the 1st of Shawwal. What do we call the time of day when we open our fast? Iftar. And what's Eid called? Fitr. You see the resemblance in the wording? Yeah. Basically means to break, to open. So basically your Iftar opens up your fast of the day, and your Eid al-Fitr ends your Iftar ends your fasting of the day, and your Eid al-Fitr ends your fasting of the month. So 1st of Shawwal, which is the Eid al-Fitr day. So people say, oh, look, when's Eid? It says on the 1st of Shawwal. Do you know what day when Eid is? Absolutely. I could tell you 100% when Eid is. I could tell you a year in advance. Forget about this 1 month before and all of this business. Eid is on the 1st of Shawwal. And it's recommended, mustahab, to eat an odd number of dates or something else sweet. Yeah? People who like desserts, eating sweet things is actually part of Sunnah. I'm not saying that eating an eclair or a, makhana cake from Morrison's is Sunnah, right? Profiterole and all that business. What I'm saying here is that dates are sweet, aren't they? or eating something sweet like halwa, kheer, semian that you have, like semolina. This is a sunnah to eat something sweet like that before you leave. So why do you need to eat before you leave? To differentiate this day from the day before. Because the day before you was fasting, you weren't eating at 8 o'clock in the morning. You're fasting. This day is to differentiate from the previous day. So the sunnah is now to eat. So then the Sahaba would see the Prophet eating some dates and they'd be like, he's definitely not fasting, he's definitely Eid. Because sometimes when it comes to Eid, I don't know if you might feel the same, maybe not, but sometimes it feels wrong to be eating on Eid morning. Some of you will be like, no, it's not wrong, it's absolutely right. This is what we should be doing today. But it feels wrong because you're not used to it, because the habit is now not to be eating. It feels a bit weird to be eating during daylight hours. So it's recommended to do this, yeah? Eat an odd number of dates. So 3 usually, like 3, 5, 7, like that. So eating dates is not restricted to Ramadan only, even Eid day, having some dates. Or something else sweet. Perform ghusl. So it's sunnah to perform ghusl on Eid day and read Eid namaz with the purification you achieved from the ghusl. Similar with Jummah, you do ghusl and you read the Jummah namaz with the purification you achieved in the ghusl. Okay. So performing ghusl, having a shower on Eid day, applying scent, so putting some attar on, yeah, like that. This would apply to men. Women are not allowed to put perfume on and go out to a place where they will come across non-mahram men. If a woman, for example, is at home, she can put perfume on. She's going to the workplace, for example, and she's working in an office where there's obviously non-mahrams working there, right? She wouldn't be allowed to wear perfume which can be smelt by someone next to you or walking past you or something like that. That doesn't mean that they can't use roll-on or antiperspirant. Please don't take it the wrong way. Still look after your personal hygiene and have showers and put on roll-on and antiperspirant and all of that. The issue here is regarding perfume, yeah, that can be smelt. Right? So for men, it's sunnah to do this, to put attar on, etc. Use a toothstick, miswak, or you can brush your teeth with like a toothpaste, toothbrush as well. Wear one's finest clothes. So it's not necessary for you to buy new clothes each Eid, although it's good. Like some people won't buy clothes all year, they'll just buy them on Eid, which is fine as well. So the idea is that you wear your best clothes that you've got, or your newest clothes. Usually your newest are your best. You wear your best clothes, your newest clothes, and that's the sunnah thing to do. So you wear your finest clothes, you're wearing nice clothes. People just turning up to Eid namaz or Jummah namaz in clothes that they usually wear. Or, like tracksuit bottoms and a top that you usually like going to the gym in or something like that. That's wrong. Wear nice clothes to the masjid for Eid namaz, for Jummah namaz as well. So to pay the charity of the end of Ramadan, Sadaqatul Fitr, which we previously mentioned, you pay your Sadaqatul Fitr before Eid prayer. Yeah, we mentioned that in the last lesson that we had. And based on one's ability before leaving the prayer for a prayer area, the musalla, the prayer area where you're going to be reading Eid namaz. So we do read Eid in masjid, for example. Well, the closer to the sunnah would be to read Eid namaz outside somewhere in an open space. That's why you have like Eid in the park, or you'll have, in a cricket field, people read Eid namaz there. That would be like more closer to the sunnah than to read Eid in the masjid. Generally, janaza is not for the masjid. Eid namaz and Jummah namaz is not for the masjid. These things are not done within the masjid. But because of lack of space and facilities available and the weather, etc., then it's done in the masjid and it's fine. Janaza is still an issue though. Reading janaza namaz inside the masjid. That should be done outside. So the next thing, one should head out walking silently. What we mean by silently is, it says, as opposed to the takbeers of Eid al-Adha, which are recited aloud on the way to the prayer area. So it's saying that the person should walk silently, reciting the takbeers until the beginning of the Eid prayer. So what that means is when you leave your house, come out of your house, and you're reading the takbeer. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Walillahil hamd. So you're reciting these takbeers, And when you're doing that, going to Eid al-Fitr prayer, you'll do it silently so you can hear yourself. Whereas when it comes to Eid al-Adha, you read it loud. Yeah? Reading it loud all the way there. These sunnahs are often neglected and overlooked by people, just engaging in normal chit-chat, conversation, etc. So you read the takbeers until you get to the Eid prayer, and then you should ideally return back home from a different route. So you go one route and you come back in a different route. That's ideal. Okay. So then basically what's mentioned is that angels are dotted around on the way and they witness you coming for the Eid prayer. And if you go in one direction and come back from another, then they will witness your traveling to the masjid, etc. They dislike to pray voluntary prayers in the mosque or the Eid prayer area in any case, as well as one's home before the Eid prayer. So basically after Fajr, and you got your sunrise, the next thing you should do is Eid Salah. You shouldn't be reading Nafal at home before Eid Namaz. You can read Nafal after. You shouldn't be going to the area or the masjid to read Eid Namaz and start reading Nafal there straight away, because it's not time for Nafal now. Now it's time to listen to the speech being delivered by the Imam. Then it says, its time starts after the sun has risen 2 spears length above the horizon, namely after the time period in which prayers are disliked until midday. And if there's a valid excuse, it may be delayed until the following day. So what's basically we said here now is, what's the start time of Eid Namaz? You know, when Fajr stops at sunrise, isn't it? Then 20 minutes from sunrise and 20 minutes after sunrise, you can't read any Namaz. You know, when that 20 minutes sunrise finishes, then Eid Namaz will start. I mean, the time for Eid Namaz will begin at that point. So for example, on Friday, sunrise is at 5:54 a.m. So let's call it 6:15. You could start reading Eid Namaz technically. So you could have an Eid Jamaat at 6:30, 7, 7:30, all the way up to what point? To Zawal. So Zohar starts at 9 minutes past 1 on Friday, Saturday, roughly. So you could read Eid Namaz, you could have a 12:30 Jamaat. Right? So there's a large window of time where you can do that. So some people are going to work, for example, on that day. They need to go to work, they can't get time off. They could have a 6:30 Jamaat, and that would be fine. 7 o'clock they could read and go. Okay. That's all they're saying here. They're saying it's a valid excuse. You may be able to read it on another and delay it by a day. What this means is, if there was like really bad rainfall, really bad snow, really bad weather conditions, you can't go outside, you could delay the Eid Namaz to the next day and delay it by a day and do it then. Otherwise, difficult to find them kind of conditions. Allah protect us. The way of performing the prayer is the following. Okay. So one makes the intention of performing the Eid prayer. The follower makes the additional intention of being a follower. Then after the opening tahrima, both the Imam and the congregation recite the opening supplication, the Sunnah. This is just standard protocol as far as reading namaz behind an Imam. What's the intention going to be? 2 rakat namaz, Eid al-Fitr, wajib, with 6 extra takbeers behind this Imam facing the Kaaba Sharif. Allahu Akbar. You can say in English, Arabic, Urdu, Patwari, whatever, however you want to say, you can say, you just need to know you're reading 2 rakats with 6 extra takbeers. It says, so recite Thana. After the Thana, they all pronounce 3 extra takbeers, raising their hands for each one. So what happens is this. When you do Eid Namaz, you do your takbeer, normal one, starting tahrima. Subhanakallahumma wa la ilaha ghayruk. What happens now is, in the 2 rakats, you need to do 6 extra takbeers. 3 takbeers take place in the first rakat, 3 takbeers take place in the second rakat. In the first rakat, the 3 takbeers take place before the recitation of Quran. And in the second rakat, 3 takbeers take place after the recitation of Quran. Very simple way of understanding it. Okay. So if I show you like practically, you'll be stood, and once you made the intention, raise your hands, Allahu Akbar. You'll read your sanat, wa la ilaha ghayruk. You'll stop. The Imam will then say Allahu Akbar. When he says Allahu Akbar, you will raise your hands let your hands go by your side. Second Allahu Akbar, raise the hands, let them go by the side. Third Allahu Akbar, raise the hands and then tie them. Then the Imam will go silent for a while, which is why he's reading A'udhu Bismillah. He'll then read Fatiha aloud. He'll read the additional surah aloud, ruku, sujood as normal, stand up for the second rakat, and he will start straight away with Surah Al-Fatiha, additional surah. When he gets to the end, let's say he's reading Surah Ikhlas, وَلَمْ يَكُلْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٍ. Like this. What will happen now is, he'll say Allahu Akbar, but this Allahu Akbar isn't to go into ruku, it's to go into your takbir now. So Allahu Akbar 1, Allahu Akbar a second time, Allahu Akbar a third time, let your hands go by your side. The fourth Allahu Akbar will now be what? For going into ruku. So 3 takbirs before the Quran is recited in the first rakat, and 3 takbirs after the Quran is recited in the second rakat. And you must say Allahu Akbar. It's wajib for you to say Allahu Akbar. You can't just think it or not say anything or rely on the Imam saying it or just listen to Allahu Akbar. It means you actually have to say the words Allahu Akbar. That's the whole point. Otherwise, Salah is not valid. Okay. So that's what they're saying here. Next, the Imam says that I was the Basmala silently, then recites Fatiha and Surah aloud. The preferred surahs are Sabbi Hisma Rabbikal A'la, which is Surah Al-A'la in the first rakat, and he bows and finishes the rakat like normal. So Surah Sabbi Hisma Rabbikal A'la is just over a page long in terms of surah. We as Imams are under pressure to read a short surah when it comes to Jummah and when it comes to Eid. Why? Because often the timing is off, there's announcements being made, people are coming late. Like even I'll go to read Jummah, to lead Jummah or lead Eid Namaz, and then I've been given a time. But then, depending on how many people have come or not come, then they'll say to me, oh, the management will say, oh, can you delay it by a little bit? Because more people are coming. Because more people means more collection. But you've given them a time and you've given me a time. So then when it suits them, it's like, oh, delay it. But then if I delay it by 2 minutes by mentioning a really important point from the Quran and Sunnah, it's like, oh, why we delayed it for? And when it suits you, you want it to be delayed. And when it suits me to delay it slightly, you won't have it. So let's just follow one rule and let's just do it on time all the time. We don't delay it for you, we don't delay it for me. But the Imam has to be given enough room for maneuver that if I will stick with the timing, but if I want to go over by a minute or two and I feel it's beneficial for the people, give it 1 or 2 more minutes. If I need to explain something or finish explaining something, I as the Imam have the right to do that. But I also have to balance that out with making sure things are done on time. But they might stand there and do announcement for 10 minutes. But the Imam goes over by a minute or two, people start getting upset. So the point here is that we're under pressure to read a short surah because of the timing. But really, this surah, Sabbi Hisma Rabbikal A'la, right? Doesn't take that long to read, maybe 3 minutes, right? 4 minutes, if you read it really slowly. Not even that, probably about 3-4 minutes. And otherwise, we have to read Surah Ikhlas, Surah Al-Kawthar, Surah Al-Asr, 10 seconds, 15 seconds done. Because now we've got to make up for time that we've lost at the beginning, or things have not been done on time and properly. So that's the first rakat. But I could guarantee you, if the Prophet ﷺ was leading the Eid Namaz, he would be reading Surah Al-A'la. Right? The second, he says, stand for the second rakat, begin with Bismillah, silently followed by the Fatiha, preferably then Surah Al-Ghashiyah, which comes straight after Surah Al-A'la. Both to be recited aloud. Similar length of surah, similar-ish length. And that's the Sunnah way. He then performs the 3 extra takbeers, all which are mandatory, in the second rakat, raising the hands for each one. This method is more preferable than performing the extra takbeers of the second rakat before the recitation. So basically what we do, like I said to you, is 3 takbeers before the recitation in rakat number 1 and 3 takbeers after the recitation in rakat number 2. That's the method of the Eid prayer. That's the only thing that's different really. Okay. After the prayer, the Imam delivers 2 sermons in which he teaches the congregation the rules pertaining to charity at the end of Ramadan, Sadaqatul Fitr, which is fine, but really that kind of things need to be taught earlier, so people give their Sadaqatul Fitr much earlier, etc. So usually we just deliver a general type of khutbah at that time. Rules of Adha on the 10th of Zulhijjah are similar to the rules of Fitr, meaning Eid al-Fitr, yet with the following exceptions. Eating is delayed until after the prayer. Because in Eid al-Fitr, we eat before we go out to differentiate from the day before. Whereas with Eid al-Adha, the sunnah is to not eat before you go out. You could have your breakfast like at Fajr time, and then not eat anything immediately before you leave. Like here, the sunnah is to eat something before you leave. So you could have your breakfast around Fajr time and then eat something before you leave. Here, what's being said is don't eat something before you leave. But you still have your breakfast if you want. The takbeers on the way to the prayer and the way back are read loud, and the rules of sacrifice also apply. And then also the days of, in them days we have the takbeer of the shriek that we read after Salah, which we'll mention another point. Them extra takbeer you read in them Salahs through the day. And they said the Eid prayer may be delayed up to 3 days if there is a valid excuse. So it can be done on other days. There was some discussion once I had with some scholars regarding would it be okay to delay Eid namaz by a day to coincide with those who are doing it the following day. Like let's say, for example, this time people are doing it on Friday and Saturday. Could the people on Friday legally delay that? Like they say, no, Eid is today, Friday. Could they legally delay that Friday, Eid namaz on Friday to Saturday, just so that it lines up with everybody being on one day, right? And for that, so there was a discussion regarding that basically. That would that be a valid reason, unity, would that be a valid reason to delay the Salah by a day? I won't tell you what the answer was. Well, that's a discussion we had. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, the takbeers of tashriq are mandatory from the Fajr of Arafat. So on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, Fajr, straight after, as soon as you've read your Fard namaz and done salam, you have to read the takbeer of tashriq, which is what? Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd. At least once is wajib, 3 times is recommended. Which namaz? Fajr on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. Then every namaz thereafter, up to and including the Asr of the 13th of Dhul Hijjah. Okay? So after each obligatory prayer performed in congregation on both the Imam and that is a resident as well as the followers in congregation. And also then the 2 companions of the 2 students of Imam Abu Hanifa. So Imam Abu Yusuf was a student of Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Muhammad was also a student of Imam Abu Hanifa. But Imam Muhammad was also a student of Imam Abu Yusuf. So they both studied with Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Muhammad also studied with Imam Abu Yusuf. He was much older. He learned from him. They said that the takbeers are wajib even if you're praying alone. What did Imam Sahib say? Imam Sahib here is Imam Abu Hanifa. What did he say? Only wajib if in congregation. What are the 2 students of his saying? We consider it to be wajib even if you're praying alone. So they differed from their teacher, didn't they? But they didn't differ based on ego or differ based just for the sake of differing. They've differed with some proofs and evidences, and it's an intellectual difference. And it's good. So, but whose mazhab is it still? Imam Abu Hanifa. Whose principles are they following? Imam Abu Hanifa. What ruling have they come to? A slightly different ruling from him. But it's a fiqh ruling and it's allowed in this for them because they're at that level. So they're saying even if the one who's praying alone or a traveler or the person resident in the village, and they said this is the opinion that's acted upon. Bihi yu'mal. So basically, what do we do? What's the take-home message for us? Whether you're male or female, whether you're reading namaz alone or in congregation, whether you're a resident or a traveler, in them days from Fajr on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah up to and including the Asr on the 13th of Dhul Hijjah, you read the Takbir Tashriq 3 times after your Fard Salah. So we leave Imam Sahib's ruling here and we go with the Saibain, which are the 2 companions of Imam Abu Hanifa. There's no harm in reciting the takbeers after the Eid prayer itself either. And the takbeers of tashriq are to say, it's on page 195. So if you haven't learned it, you need to learn that. And the translation here is going to be Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest. There's no deity except Allah. Indeed, Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest, for Allah is all praise. So Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Walillahil hamd. And then there's further dua here that's been mentioned to also add, which inshallah we can squeeze in. Well, yes, let's go. So saying Allah, so this is an additional dua saying Allah is indeed the greatest. Much praise is for him, glory be to him, with much praise morning and evening. There's no deity except him alone. He fulfilled his promise, gave victory to his servant, strengthened his soldiers, and he alone defeated the confederates. There's no deity except him. We worship none but him, practicing the religion solely for his sake, even if the disbelievers hate it. And there are disbelievers who hate the fact that Muslims are Muslims. And oh Allah, send blessings upon our Master Muhammad and upon his family, upon the family of our Master Muhammad, and upon the companions of our Master Muhammad, and upon the wives of our Master Muhammad, and send abundant peace upon them all. And this is also on page 196. So a dua like this, a statement like this, is something that you could have as a khutbah. That your Eid khutbah could just be this statement, because there's praise of Allah, and there's mention of Allah's greatness, and there's mention of peace and salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ, as well. Okay, so we'll stop there, and we will continue inshallah next week. There's no outstanding questions, so we finish at this time so that you guys can have a chance to get home in time for your starting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.